Eric had always been a natural athlete. Since childhood, his passion for basketball propelled him to train tirelessly, dreaming of the spotlights on the big courts. His efforts led him to professional success, but the price to pay was high. At 28, his body was already showing signs of wear after years of intense physical demands. That autumn morning, Eric arrived for yet another physiotherapy session. The white, sterile corridor of the Sports Rehabilitation Center was all too familiar to him. He limped slightly, leaning on a cane as he made his way to the exercise room. His recently operated right knee still ached when he walked. The physiotherapist greeted him with an encouraging smile. "How are you feeling today, Eric?" she asked as she helped him settle on the treatment table. "Honestly, tired," he replied with a sigh. "I don't know if I can handle another season like this." As the professional manipulated his leg with precise movements, Eric let his mind wander. He remembered when he was just a dreamy boy, chasing an orange ball through the school corridors. Back then, everything seemed simpler. Now, at 28, he felt the weight of expectations and the fear that his career could end at any moment. After some exercises, Eric was left alone in the room for a few minutes to rest before another massage session. His gaze wandered around the simple decor of the room until it landed on a pile of magazines on a table in the corner. Without thinking much, he reached out to grab the one on top. The colorful cover displayed the face of a young and beautiful woman. Her green eyes seemed to look directly at Eric, conveying serene confidence. Something in that look felt familiar to him. Intrigued, he examined the image more closely. "Amanda Johnson," read the caption beneath the photo. "The new sensation in young adult literature." The name sparked a flicker of recognition in Eric's mind. Amanda Johnson. He knew that name. But from where? Flipping through the magazine, he found an interview with the author. As he read, fragments of memory began to fall into place. Amanda Johnson. Of course, they had studied together in high school. Eric vaguely remembered a quiet girl, always with a book in her hands. Once they worked on a literature project together. She was extremely intelligent that he remembered well. In the interview, Amanda talked about her journey as a writer. "I wasn't always this confident person you see today," she said. "As a teenager, I was extremely shy. Books were my refuge, my way of escaping reality." Eric continued reading, fascinated. The reserved girl he barely noticed in the school hallways was now a successful author, with a series of fantasy books that had become a craze among the youth. How things changed. One passage in particular caught his attention. Amanda mentioned that she had just released her first novel, something completely different from her previous works. "It's a more personal story," she explained, "based on my own experiences in high school." Eric's curiosity was piqued. He finished the physical therapy session with a restless mind, eager to learn more about that book. On the way back home, he made an unexpected stop at a bookstore. Invisible Hearts, by Amanda Johnson. The simple cover, in shades of blue, displayed the silhouette of two young people sitting back to back. Eric hesitated for a moment before taking the book to the cashier. It wasn't the type of reading he usually did, but something compelled him to know that story. At home, Eric settled into his favorite armchair, his knee resting on a cushion. He opened the book and dove into the pages, unaware that he was about to rediscover his own past through someone else's eyes. The story followed Justine, a shy and dreamy teenager, in her final year of high school. Eric soon realized that the setting and characters were strangely familiar. As he continued reading, it became increasingly clear. That book was a fictionalized version of Amanda's school life. And then, he found himself in the pages. Cody, the popular and charismatic athlete whom Justine harbored a secret crush on. Eric felt a mix of surprise and discomfort at seeing himself depicted through the protagonist's love-struck eyes. In the book, Justine described Cody as someone unattainable, living in a completely different world from hers. To him, I'm just another person in the crowd, the character thought. Insignificant, invisible. Eric paused his reading, feeling a lump in his throat. Was that how Amanda saw him back then? As someone so distant and perfect? The irony of the situation did not escape him. While she idealized him, he was grappling with his own insecurities and pressures. As the story unfolded, Eric relived moments of his adolescence that he had long forgotten. The literature project he did with Amanda took on a new meaning in the book. For Justine, those few hours alongside Cody had been magical, filled with hope and unfulfilled dreams. Eric found himself wishing he could go back in time and tell that shy girl how special she was. To say that his life wasn't as perfect as it seemed, that he too had fears and uncertainties. At the end of the book, Justine and Cody did not end up together. The protagonist concluded that fairy tales didn't exist in real life, and that Cody would probably never remember her. Eric closed the book with a heavy sigh, feeling a mix of emotions he couldn't name. In the days that followed, Eric couldn't get Amanda and her story out of his mind. Something in that narrative touched him deeply, stirring feelings and reflections he hadn't expected. During his physical therapy sessions, while struggling to regain strength in his knee, his mind constantly wandered to the pages of that book. An idea began to take shape in his mind. What if he could talk to Amanda? Tell her that he did remember her presence at school, that she wasn't as insignificant as she thought. Show her that his life wasn't as perfect as she imagined. Determined, Eric contacted his manager. After a few days of anxious waiting, he finally got Amanda's phone number. With his heart racing, he dialed the numbers. "Hello?" The voice on the other end of the line was soft with a touch of curiosity. "Amanda. Hi, this is Eric. Eric Thompson. We went to high school together, do you remember?" There was a moment of silence. "Eric. Wow, this is unexpected. Of course, I remember you. How did you get my number?" Eric briefly explained about having seen her interview in the magazine and having read her book. I wanted to talk to you about that, if you don't mind." The surprise was evident in Amanda's voice. "You read my book? Really?" "I read it, and it touched me deeply. Amanda, I would really like to talk to you in person. Could we meet?" After a brief moment of hesitation, Amanda agreed. They arranged to meet at a quiet cafe in the city centre the following week. The day of the meeting arrived, and Eric found himself nervous in a way he hadn't felt in years. He arrived at the cafe early, choosing a discreet table in the corner. When Amanda walked in, he recognized her immediately. She was even more beautiful in person than in the magazine photo, with an air of confidence that contrasted with the shy girl from his memories. "Eric," she smiled as she approached. "It's good to see you after such a long time." They greeted each other with a slightly awkward hug. "You look great, Amanda," Eric commented sincerely as they sat down. "Congratulations on the success of your books." Amanda blushed slightly. "Thank you. It's still a bit surreal for me. And you? How's your basketball career going?" Eric hesitated for a moment. "Actually, I'm going through a rough patch. Injuries, you know. I'm thinking about retiring after this season." Amanda's expression softened. "I'm sorry to hear that. It must be tough." "Yeah, but it's part of the game," Eric shrugged. "Actually, Amanda, I wanted to talk to you about your book, Invisible Hearts." Amanda's face turned serious. "Oh, so you really read it?" "I did, and I saw myself in it. Cody, right? The popular athlete." Amanda looked away, clearly uncomfortable. "Eric, that's fiction. It's not exactly about us." "I know," Eric reassured her, "but a lot of that was real, wasn't it? About how you felt at school, how you saw things." Amanda nodded slowly. "Yes, much of what I wrote came from my experiences. But why did it interest you so much?" Eric took a deep breath. "Because I wanted you to know that I remember you, Amanda. You weren't invisible to me, and my life wasn't as perfect as it seemed." Amanda's eyes widened in surprise. "You remember me?" "Of course I do. You were the smartest girl in the class. I remember when we worked on that literature project together. I was impressed with your analysis of the book. A shy smile appeared on Amanda's lips. "I thought you barely noticed my existence back then." Eric shook his head. "I noticed. But at that time, I was so focused on keeping my grades up, not missing practice and meeting everyone's expectations, that I didn't give the proper attention to many important things." They spent the following hours talking, sharing their perspectives on their school years. Eric talked about the pressure he felt to maintain high grades while training intensely, about how he sometimes felt used by people who approached him out of interest. Amanda spoke about her paralyzing shyness, about how books were her refuge in a world that seemed to have no place for her. As they talked, something began to change between them. The distance imposed by the years and their different life paths began to dissolve, giving way to a connection that neither of them expected to find. Eric found himself admiring not only Amanda's physical beauty but also her sharp intelligence and subtle sense of humor. Amanda, in turn, discovered a very different Eric from the boy who populated her teenage memories. There was a depth to him that she never imagined existed. When they finally said goodbye, it was already night. They promised to keep in touch. Eric went home feeling light, as if a weight had been lifted off his shoulders. Amanda, on the other hand, had a smile on her face that she couldn't contain. In the weeks that followed, Eric and Amanda began to meet frequently. Sometimes it was just a quick coffee between their commitments, other times long walks through the city park. Eric invited her to watch one of his games, and Amanda felt her heart race as she saw him on the court, making the moves she had imagined so many times in her adolescence. Amanda, in turn, took Eric to one of her signing sessions. Seeing her interact with the fans, talking about her books with passion, made Eric fall even more for this incredible woman she had become. As time went by, the feelings between them grew. What started as a rediscovery of the past turned into something new and unexpected. Eric found himself thinking about Amanda at the most random moments of the day, eager to share his joys and frustrations with her. Amanda, in turn, discovered that her teenage crush had transformed into a mature and deep love for the man Eric had become. It was during a romantic dinner, months after their reunion, that Eric finally gathered the courage. Holding Amanda's hands across the table, he looked into her eyes and said, "Amanda, you wrote that fairy tales don't exist in real life, but I disagree. What we are living now, this second chance that life gave us, this is magical. It's our own fairy tale." Amanda's eyes filled with tears. "Eric, I love you, Amanda," he continued, his heart beating strongly. "And I want to spend the rest of my life proving that you will never be invisible to me." Amanda couldn't contain the smile that lit up her face. "I love you too, Eric, more than I ever imagined possible." That night, as they walked hand in hand under the stars, Amanda thought about how life sometimes surprises us in the most wonderful ways. Her teenage heart could never have imagined that one day she would be there, living her own happy ending alongside the man who once seemed so unreachable. Months later, Amanda sat in front of her computer, her fingers hovering over the keyboard. A new book was beginning to take shape in her mind. This time, it would be a love story with a happy ending. A story about second chances, about seeing beyond appearances, about finding the extraordinary in the ordinary. As she wrote the first words, Amanda smiled. Her personal fairy tale was just beginning, and she could hardly wait to see where this new journey would take them. If you enjoyed the story, please leave a comment with a rating from 1 to 5 to show how much you liked it. Also, watch the video that is now appearing on your screen. See you soon.